How are you doing? This morning we woke up and there was actually news about black ice. What black ice is and what Atlanta is notorious for: when it rains and then it gets windy, then it gets really cold. And what that does, it doesn't create snow, but it creates a layer of ice. So the water's on the ground, the wind blows over it, kind of cools it off, and if it's really cool, and if it drops below 32 degrees, then it's black ice. And the reason they call it black ice, because when you look at it, it looks like just regular black asphalt. But as you notice, if you apply your brakes, you're just going to keep sliding. I think there was a case in Dallas this week where a truck was just sliding sideways down after coming out of basically his driveway. And what it looks like is you're running on marbles. You have no control whatsoever. So here in Atlanta, we had a huge, we call it a snowpocalypse, that happened in 2014. What happened in 2014, we knew it was going to snow, but we didn't know how it was going to affect us. So it was a Friday, and I remember I had an interview, and the interview came in, and I think Brian was conducting the interview, and I actually came in, and it was close to noon. I said, you know what, time out, cut it short, I want everybody to leave. The roads look like it's starting to get pretty bad, and I want everybody to go home. So everybody left the office, including the interviewee, and we got him out. What I did, unfortunately, I waited probably another 20 or 30 minutes to really go home, and that 30 minutes cost me quite a bit. So what happened, I was driving I had an Excursion diesel, a big, massive 6-inch lift on it, big 35-inch tires. I didn't think anything could stop me. So I said, everybody go home, I'll be fine, I'll get home just fine. So I leave out and all hell breaks loose. I couldn't go anywhere. This truck became essentially a 10,000-pound missile. Anywhere I pointed it, I'd stop and I would still slide for 2 or 3 feet. So back and forth, I was trying, and I only lived 3 miles from my office on purpose. So I said, you know what, let me try to go down this road. Nope, didn't work. I had to turn around because it was too much of a hill and I knew I would just keep sliding. Let me go back and go towards more of a leveled side. That didn't work either. So out of the corner of my eye, I actually see the Marietta Police and the Cobb County Police with a snow truck, or not a snow truck, but it's actually a salt truck. And what the salt truck is just doing is putting down sand and salt to melt the ice. So I said, I'm just going to follow that. Well, that didn't work out too well because everybody else in Cobb County decided the same thing. So we were in this long line, and it was just back and forth, and it was taking me forever. Literally, it was less than a mile from our office, and I'm still stuck in traffic 3 hours later. I got to a point where I was cresting over a hill, and my truck started sliding sideways. And I'm like, please, 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 Lord, let me just get this thing stopped, and I will pull in the next driveway and walk home. So that's what I did. I actually parked it in the next business, put it in their driveway, told them I just couldn't drive home anymore. They understood, and I walked home. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't wearing sneakers. I was actually wearing loafers, leather loafers, which don't do well in snow. And 3 miles, anybody can walk a mile in about 30 minutes. It took me, 20 minutes. It took me almost 30 to 40 minutes to do a mile, walking in the snow, walking with leather shoes on. I actually stopped by the Quick Trip, got some hot cocoa halfway down, and continued my way to the house. Now, once I got to the house, it's now my decision to decide, back to valet parking, what do I do? Do I call off my valets? And this is at a point, regardless, this is what, not even 6-7 years ago, I never really had a snow policy in place. What do? A lot of my valets will complain and say, hey, no, I'm not going in. I don't want to go in. My mom says I can't go in because it's too dangerous. But me being a selfish business owner, I'm like, get to work. It costs us money. But I know as well as just as hard time I just had getting home, I'm not letting my valets go in. So I called off all my restaurants. I said, hey, you know what? I'm not going in. I'm not bringing my valets out. It's too dangerous. And this is during the daylight. Imagine at nighttime, once the sun goes down, everything's really going to freeze over. And here's the crazy thing. People laugh. How could you live in Atlanta and not know the storm is coming? Nobody can really anticipate black ice. Also, the Weather Channel is housed. This is the headquarters for the Weather Channel. And honestly, not even 10 minutes from my house. But nobody knew this was coming. The governor wasn't prepared. Nobody was prepared. DOT, Department of Transportation, was completely caught off guard, and essentially Georgia or Atlanta was caught with their pants down. It was so embarrassing. People had to leave their cars on the side of the road. People had to sleep inside of Home Depot. People had to sleep inside of hotels, the lobbies, anywhere, because nobody could get home. I was blessed enough to only have to walk 2 or 3 miles to get to my house. But there are other people that live 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 miles from their house. There's no way that was happening. So that night, I called off all of my restaurants except for 2. One wanted to keep Valet going for some strange reason. The other one, same thing. The Valet's like, hey, I have an Audi all-wheel drive. I'll go in. No problem at all. I'll make a little money off of whoever comes in. So that Valet goes in, and do you want to guess what happens? That's right. They actually get snowed into the restaurant. So when they decided to leave like at 8 o'clock at night, all the servers and the valets and the cooks and everything, parking lot is completely iced over and nobody can get out. So they essentially slept in the restaurant that night. So it was pretty funny. They had plenty of food. They had heat and everything, and they got to watch TV and just enjoyed everything. And the valet said he slept in one of the booths. And I didn't really know that until the next day. He didn't even tell me that they were stuck in a restaurant. But he was good friends with all the servers, and they had a good old time. Now, the next restaurant, the owner was actually upset because the valets weren't there in time. I get a lot of phone calls about the valet saying, hey, I can't get down there, it's too far. And you got to consider this. Looking at a region, some of the valets live north of the city. The further north you were, the colder it was, the more ice you got. Perhaps if you were downtown, the roads were more traveled and they weren't as icy. So the restaurant manager wanted us in. So I finally got some valets to go down there, but prior to, the restaurant owner had parked many of the cars himself to keep the customers in control. What he did, we have a little ticket box that looks like essentially a little toolbox, and he would put the keys in there and just carry it from car to car because he didn't know the process for the podium and all that stuff. So he's like, I'll just park the cars, put the keys in the little toolbox and carry it from car to car. Well, the valets didn't get down there until 7 o'clock, and I think the shift started at 4:45. So as the valets pulled up, the owner was giving a car back to a customer, and the customer drove away. Little did the restaurant owner know, the key box, or the little toolbox that he was putting the keys in, was still in that car. In that was probably 8 sets of keys, including a Maserati key and a Mercedes key. And those keys are impossible to duplicate in the middle of the night. That's why I bring that up. So this restaurant owner still gets pissed at us for being late. Otherwise, he would have never been put in that situation where he left those keys in that car. Well, to our benefit and to the restaurant benefit, when that customer got home, they looked over. She saw there was a thing of container didn't look right. She looked open. She saw it was a whole bunch of keys. She turned around and came back to the restaurant and gave us the keys back. Now, that was on Friday. On Saturday, it was still icy and a lot of things didn't change. I look at outside of my house and honestly, it looked like an apocalypse. I live on a slight hill going uphill, and all of these cars were scattered all in front of our house over the embankment. It was crazy. So I now have to decide the next day. And of course, these restaurants don't want to lose 2 days, a Friday night and a Saturday night worth of revenue coming in. So of course they want us to come back to work the next day. I said, hey, these parking lots look bad. And they're like, don't you have salt to put down to melt the ice? That's not our job. We're not sitting there. So now I do have a lot of salt that I keep in the garage so we can do things like that. But that's not my position. Not to mention when I get to Home Depot or Ace Hardware, all of it's going to be sold out already. You rent this space from the building. The building maintenance should be in charge of that. But for our safety, yes, we do try to bring that around now, and that's our new story. So if you look at some of these cases, you'll look at these parking lots, and it's completely dangerous. I'm not going to put my valets in that situation where our liability is now heightened because we're driving an S-Class Mercedes on a roller skating rink. Basically, what it relates to driving on black ice is, let's just say there's 100 marbles on this table and you're trying to walk across these marbles. You don't know what direction you're going to go. You're not going to know how to stop, how to move forward. And that's the kind of control you have over a vehicle that's driving on black ice. So now, from this point forward, we now use the City of Atlanta as a kind of barometer of what's going on. If the city of Atlanta shuts down, which it now does very quickly because of what happened in 2014, then we do too. I want my valet safe. I want the cars safe. And unfortunately, restaurants, you have to understand that we're not going to be out there that day.